Greetings, Earthlings. Located on the outskirts of Auburn, New York, in the town of Sennett, Cherry Street served as my home and, as Larky Peterson once declared, my estate from about 1973 until about 1982. Comprising nearly 23 acres of open land, my estate included a small two-bedroom matchbox house with approximately 800 square feet, built some 75 feet distant from Cherry Street, and a small section of wooded land at the back end of the property. Resembling a rectangle, my estate ran north to south on the west side of Cherry Street. I enjoyed sunrises through a large picture window, as well as the sight of Farmer Abbott's cows grazing in full view across the street. More than any other photo film I have created throughout the past several years, I fondly consider this production my greatest expression of photographic autobiography. Provided my memory is correct, these first few photos come from the winter of 1977 to 1978. One horrible, cold, snowy, blizzard-like winter. If it were not for Farmer Abbott across the street from me, we would have been snowed in. On really bad days, Farmer Abbott plowed out my driveway for me. This is the Plymouth Champ I bought in 1981. Powerful little car. We're looking outside from inside the house now. At night. Cold at night. You can see the snow glittering as though it had diamonds on the surface. And that's Medea waiting for me to open the door to let her back in again. Sleet. We had lots of sleet, as you can tell by the frozen water sticking to these trees. So here we are, away from those cold, wintry months, enjoying typical summers out there on Cherry Street. That tree with a band-aid on it is one that I had fixed. It became inhabited by these wood-eating bugs. Those are my pear trees. I had a pear tree and an apple tree, and that was one of my cats in the back. My brother Bob and his wife Colette overlooking the garden. That's my splendid garden. Oh, what wonderful loamy soil that garden had, with a creek nearby. It sat low. That's a view looking up towards Wilson Abbott's farm. Here's another view of the garden. All kinds of vegetables, especially tomatoes. In the warmer summer months, I also had my crop of Mary Jane that did quite well out there. And I think that's Citro, my cat Citro, in front of my Champ. And I fixed this old place up and made it into a wood shack with a roof, added windows, another view towards the garden. I could grow onions there, tomatoes, corn, Brussels sprouts, as well as these sunflowers. This is a close-up, a little bit of tomatoes. I had so many tomatoes I could not give them away. They were delicious. Farmer Abbott would come over every year and dump some of his fresh cow manure into the soil. That's Farmer Abbott's barn up there. He'd work the soil, and I would have really fine, organically ripe soil from year to year. And there's my Mary Jane in black and white. Those crops did pretty good, but I finally had to put up those tall sunflower seeds in order to kind of keep an eye off what was growing in my backyard of the garden. Those are tomatoes again. Playing around with Adobe Photoshop of these Russian sunflowers. And there's Medea and Scooter. Medea. Hell hath no fury like that of a cat scorned. She was with me for several years. Went with Judy. Even went to Florida. More views of the garden. I don't know why I took one picture of one stalk of corn, but there's me standing in my sunflower crop. Gradually, in time, of course, the sunflowers grew higher than my own height. There's Opa David. During my spring chicken days. Bark, 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 bark. What a handsome guy. I think those are onions. Look like onions coming out of the ground. And these are flowers I can't remember the name, but these warded off insects. As far as I know, I think they worked. And I saved the petals or the seeds from year to year. I never had to rebuy these things. Ah yes, here's my 1972 Mercury Comet, which I used primarily to get me to work as a traveling photographer. Here's my cat house on which I'm sitting. The first wooden structure that I ever built ever, and it endured. Like Medea, who sits on my lap here. And there I am, no longer a spring chicken, and my friends Gerhard and Tracy Patch, who often came to visit me during my days on Cherry Street. Gerhard standing there proudly next to his BMW, his Red Baron. Sweet little car, sweet little car. He smoked a pipe. We met in Würzburg, Germany, 1968, as exchange students. There's Opa David next to the Patch family. Farmer Abbott's cows grazing in the background there.
Thank you.
Bob, brother Bob, his wife Colette, posing in front of my garden. I'm standing on top of the roof. Here they are viewing the garden. Here comes another spring chicken David. And next is a classic photo of me on the left, and then my cousin Ella, Dorothy, my mom, Tracy Patch, Gerhard Patch, and their son Gregor. Bob and Colette again. They came to me with the request to photograph them in their wedding outfits a few years following their wedding. They posed for me on different locations around my house, so I get a nice perspective of what the place used to look like in those days. 1972 roughly until 1973 until 1982, nearly 10 years. There's Medea posing with the couple. Another view of my garden vegetation, the kind you'd smoke to get high. I think these were corn stalks, although I'm not sure. Not sure. Tomato plants, of course. More tomato plants. Some more views of the property. Again, I had about 23 acres of land. One big rectangle. Looking down at the garden from my house, the top of the house. There's Scooter again, who liked to play in the tree. Photogenic. And there is a cow. In addition to the milk these sweethearts give, I can thank one particular cow for an aortic valve to replace my own aortic valve, which leaked along with the mitral valve. Had an operation November the 30th, 2017 to replace the valve, including repair to the mitral valve, and third, a bypass. I had a heart artery that was blocked. Thank you, cows. And this is Wilson Abbott, for whom I worked for a while, one summer out there. I always liked to capture ominous looking clouds. There's Scooter again. I think Scooter came out of one of Medea's litters. Don't remember what happened to Scooter. This is another view of the property. More views. This is a rooftop ventilation for my potbelly stove. Garden again, predominantly tomatoes there. That's Bill Wenderlich. I took these shots in preparation for an advertising brochure he wanted me to design for his cleaning company. We now step indoors to my place on Cherry Street. That's Karen Brower, my butterfly lover, arranging some of my things. My cast iron stove there. This is the dark room. You see the enlarger on the left, and there's the enlarger straight on. You'll find later on in my film a poem dedicated to Brower, my butterfly lover. Here's my kitchen, looking off into the new edition. Preparation here for the development of seeds. Some of the soil that I used to propagate seeds, whether they were vegetables here, these are probably propagating pot seeds. Yep. Had a good crop. There's Medea. Another shot of Medea. There's Mr. Bill Wenderlich again, posing with his equipment. And pretty soon you're going to see me here sitting in an empty bedroom with my pot crop drying. Yes, I brought all my clipped plants indoors to dry. Those are shots of Hippie David. There's me in my spring chicken days, Mr. Hippie. I can't believe I looked like this back then. Here's Mr. Jalil Tusi, my roommate for a while. He had a conflict with his wife and came out with me to live for a while. He's from Iran originally. And there's Mr. David again in my freaky hippie days. These next few shots represent cast members of Auburn Players production of Aladdin. And there's me. And there's me again. Watch out. There's another cast member, as well as another cast member. And this character here was our guitarist. And now for a classic shot. These are the four kids of my older brother Dick, from left to right: Colleen, Maureen, Debbie, and Rick. This lady is Mary. Mary, I can't remember her last name, but she worked for the Auburn Citizen, gave me frequent stories to write about. This is Bev Hancock Rose. Pretty fine lady. She operated an exotic fruit and vegetable shop in one of Auburn's smaller malls. An artist, a director, pretty good actor, and a very photogenic person. Next comes Larky and Susan Peterson, who posed for me out there on Cherry Street. My nephew Rick Wade, graduation. Don't ask me the date. And that's a girl I got to know a little bit later. Another girl I got to know a little bit later. But back to Rick's graduation. There he is in the center. A little bit close. Stern, serious look, huh, Rick? Ah, slight smile. This gentleman coming up is a homeless man whom I photographed one summer, and then years later created a pencil drawing. This guy here is a Montezuma town supervisor. What a face, huh? This next shot is Nina D'Agostino, who ran a liquor store. I had a part-time job with her for a while. This is a former mayor of Weedsport, whose name slips me at the moment. My photo film would not be complete without Trish. My first marriage didn't last very long. 10 months together, I think, and then divorced after 13 months. She came in with a ready-made family. And in time, we went to my own junkyard. My property had several abandoned vehicles, and she agreed to pose behind the glass here. So this is my broken glass relationship with Trish. Shattered glass, more appropriate, eh? A nickname for Patricia, but everybody called her Trish. I do render my drawings from photographs. I use either pencil or charcoal, and the drawings you see that are sepia toned, like this one right here, they are the result of newsprint that eventually turned discolored with age. Now this studious fellow is Gerhard Lippmann, a physicist student who came to Oneonta State on an exchange program. Gerhard and I were dormitory roommates for a whole year. This is a rendition of a former high school principal. This was a high school principal too. Again, all of my drawings. This one, for example, is charcoal. This one is pencil. The next one is charcoal. All are rendered from photographs. I don't mind pointing out that all the music in the background comes from Def Gecko DEFGECKO, which is the band my brother Bob formed together with his friends in Melbourne, Florida, a few years ago. Up next is a self-portrait of me during my days as a traveling children's photographer from 71 until about 74. This is a small sampling of the future brides and future grooms who came out to my place to be photographed for newspaper release statements. I next singled out a few photos to depict the marriage between my sister Judy and her lawfully beloved husband Ron Volbrecht, and they are still married today. Congratulations, Ron and Judy, you made it! Yes, Karen Brower, my butterfly lover, attended my sister's wedding, and I have a poem that I wrote explicitly for her. It's called Abandoned Peach Pie. I had an odd dream last night, came to me at dawn's first light. A past love stood there poised with a grin, she still as thin as an elm's young limb. She, with a look that had not grown old, asked with bold, sweet glance to hold close what long years past had grown cold. I hugged this love as though she were gold. I let my hands touch the fold of her back. A breath of new light there seemed no lack. I had an odd dream last night. When I awoke, I still held her tight. But then I made out my love's true light, and at once did call to mind the plight that marked our days and days now gone by. She, in truth, would take the best of my creamy peachy pie and fly, despite my sigh, to the next available guy.
a million years. But now it feels so strange and the atmosphere. And then the jukebox plays a song I used to know. And now I'm staring at the bodies as they're dancing so slow. They don't ride like that anymore. They just don't ride like that Now I'm staring at an empty glass. It's so easy to say that you can get your ass. They don't ride like that anymore. They just don't ride like that anymore. They don't ride like that anymore. They just don't ride like that anymore. They just don't. No, they don't. No, no, no. They just don't ride like that anymore. No, no. Oh, oh, oh. There she stood in the street, smiling from her head to her feet. I said, hey, what is this? Now, baby, baby, maybe she's in need of a kiss. I said, hey, what's your name, baby? Baby, we can see.